My experience with gun violence started on April 10th when 4 bullet holes ripped through my husband's body.
That today, speaking Marianne Elliott, remembering her darkest day, April 10th. That's the day her husband, a senior vice president, was killed at Old National Bank.
Today, she spoke publicly for the very first time since that mass shooting, remembering her husband, Tommy Elliott. As of Monday, LMPD's database indicates there have been 225 non-fatal criminal shootings and 85 homicides. That number has only increased throughout the week as we have seen a violent holiday weekend. Both homicides and shootings are higher than this time last year.
And these acts of violence certainly change families forever. Today, the emotional plea from families whose loved ones were taken away too soon. WHAS11's Alexis Jones and photojournalist Nelson Reyes take us to Shawnee Park to reveal a new strategy to find ways to save lives.
It was 4 years ago when 19-year-old Kristen Gwynn was shot and killed here on the corner of 43rd and Market Street. Now today, loved ones, leaders, and many people in the community gathered here to come up with a plan to curb gun violence on every street in Jefferson County. It's an epidemic claiming lives in our city.
We're losing our children like they're just expendable, and they're not.
Kristen's mother, Krista Gwynn, tearfully stood against gun violence with several families Wednesday. Among them for the first time was Marianne Elliott. Her husband, Tommy Elliott, was killed in the mass shooting at Old National Bank.
My experience with gun violence started on April 10th when 4 bullet holes ripped through my husband's body and created that familiar, dark, cavernous hole called grief that is so dark that sometimes I do struggle to breathe and sometimes feel like I'm toppling off of a building, free falling.
Elliott shared her pain to urge the public to join the Curbing Gun Violence competition. The initiative is sponsored by the Crescent Hill Community Council. Initially, the group planned to award $1,000 to the person who creates the best idea to end gun violence. But by the end of the conference, the dollar amount quickly jumped.
It's $4,000.
Project Chair Jane Emke says officials throughout Jefferson County will decide on a winner. Participants have until October 4th to submit their ideas online or by mail. Then on January 4th, the group hopes to announce the best solution. In Louisville, Alexis Jones, WHAS11 on your side.
And if you would like to donate to the Curbing Gun Violence competition or submit an idea, go to crescenthill.us. And you can also pick up a submission form at your local public library. By the way, this past weekend, July 4th celebrations turned deadly in some parts of the country. 17 mass shootings during the holiday weekend killed 18 people and left more than 100 injured. Last night in Shreveport, Louisiana, 4 people lost their lives and 7 others were injured when gunfire broke out at a July 4th block party. The suspect's still on the loose.
You will not get away with this. What you have done is traumatized this community.
The 4th of July holiday is normally a time when shootings in the U.S. do increase, according to numbers from the Gun Violence Archive. And this year was no different. Similar scenes played out in cities like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., where 9 were injured in a drive-by shooting, including a child and teenager. And outside of Boston, 5 people were shot. 2 suspects were arrested in that case.
Now we have an alert for the Clarksville area. Crews are working to fix a water main break. They have now issued a boil water advisory. Take a look at your screen right now. If you are in the red area right here, you are under that boil water advisory. It stretches down Washington Street and includes buildings on Randolph and McKinley Avenues. It also includes Clarksville Elementary and High School. We did reach out to the schools and found out there's no activity scheduled on the campuses. Crews are starting to work on the repairs now. That boil water advisory is in effect for the next 24 hours, but we'll keep an eye on it, and if that changes, we'll be sure to let you know.
After an extensive search in Glendale, Kentucky today, that's Hardin County, a missing man was found dead near the Nolan River. Search and rescue teams say 37-year-old Brian Henderson disappeared in the area on Saturday. Officials say Henderson was canoeing. When they found him, he was in Valley Creek. Emergency crews said after the storms we saw last week, the river water was rough and high.
You know, the river, always use caution on the river. Always, if you can, wear safety life vest, safety vest, and be with someone that's experienced on this river. This is a large body of water here. We have over 80 miles of this river cuts through this county, and it's one of the most crookedest rivers in North America.
Because the river was so high, crews could not search in the water until today.
The man accused of raping a 10-year-old girl in Ohio, who later went to Indiana to get an abortion, was in court today. Gerson Fuentes changed his plea, taking a plea deal today. He pleaded guilty to 2 counts of rape and was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Police say he confessed to raping the girl at least twice. Ohio's heartbeat bill bans abortions after a heartbeat is found. That's typically in about 6 weeks of pregnancy. The girl was 9 years old when she was raped. She traveled with her mom a short time later to get an abortion in Indiana. The abortion case came at the height of Roe v. Wade being overturned, and the girl's story was catching national headlines, especially for that Indiana doctor who treated the girl for an abortion. Dr. Caitlin Bernard told a reporter about the case at an abortion rally. She was later accused of not reporting it to Indiana authorities and breaking privacy laws. Dr. Bernard was later fined by the medical board, but she did not have her license suspended.
Overnight, there were 2 fires. One happened in a residential area and one in a business. The first one happened about 3:30 this morning in the Shively area. You can see the aftermath of the house fire on Lake Dreamland Road. You can also see it suffered a lot of damage, and there were no reports of any rescues or injuries. The second blaze happened just after 5 this morning. It was reported at D&D Products, which is an auto cleaning supply store on Cane Run Road. This is just outside of Shively. Police tell us there were no reports of any injuries at that location either.
Well, once you pass the 4th of July holiday, you are officially in summer, and Doug, it feels like it out there.
Hotter than a firecracker there, Shay.
Hotter than a firecracker.
If we haven't said that yet, we should be saying it, because that humidity, to me, maybe because we haven't had it so hot in a while, it felt like 100 degrees outside.
We really have been blessed with an easy start to summer, but the heat and humidity has arrived, Alden.
It has, but thankfully not sticking around for very long. It is pretty humid out there today, still going to be humid tomorrow, but nothing too extreme. Max HD radar quiet now. We had a couple of showers in the metro not too long ago and a few thunderstorms earlier. Now all we're looking at is a downpour that's exiting Greene County and just clipping southern parts of Hart County right now. Maybe getting something new trying to form here in southern LaRue County, but nothing is severe, which is the good thing. And notice how that storm in Greene County is really just fizzled up. And yeah, we are starting to see something try to reform there in southern LaRue County. Otherwise, you can expect a largely dry night across the rest of the area. Beautiful blue skies for us here. 85 degrees, 89 in Jasper, 83 in Brandenburg, 91 in Springfield, a little bit warmer there. And as for that humidity, well, those earlier showers and cloud cover brought it down just a bit, but it feels like almost 100 in Jasper, feels like a 98 in Springfield, and a heat index of 87 here in the metro. So pretty muggy and warm, but it is July after all. Dry and humid for us tonight. Will be partly cloudy, only in the lower 70s here in the metro. A few more isolated storms expected for tomorrow, although it's not going to be as hot technically, still going to be a bit on the humid side. I expect those isolated storms tomorrow will be a little bit more numerous, but like today, that risk of severe weather is very low. We do have more rain in the extended forecast as we head into the weekend. We'll time that out ahead.
All right, Alden, thank you very much. The battle over a controversial statue of a former Confederate soldier took a new turn today.
In 2020, the statue of John B. Castleman was removed from the Cherokee Triangle at the height of the protests amid controversy over Castleman's connection to the Confederacy. Castleman joined the Confederate Army as a teenager, but he later then moved to the U.S. Army and became known as the father of Louisville's park system. The group Friends of Louisville Public Art filed a lawsuit and motions to replace the statue. And despite a ruling from the Kentucky Supreme Court that the state's removal was improper, its fate is still up in the air tonight. Grace McKenna has more on the new stance we learned today from a news conference by the Friends of Louisville Public Art.
As the group continues to fight for the statue's return in court, they say they've come up with this idea for an additional memorial as a compromise.
A battle over one monument, breeding calls for another.
We need to honor those black leaders who struggled against the Jim Crow era. This memorial is long overdue.
Friends of Louisville Public Art, the group fighting to put back the controversial John B. Castleman statue, is now asking the city for a new memorial to black city leaders who protested park segregation and who they say supported Castleman.
They did not judge him for how a 19-year-old spent a mere 2 years of his life.
The statue was vandalized and criticized because Castleman fought for the Confederacy during the Civil War. But historian Martina Kunicki argues the father of the Louisville park system supported its integration. Reading from a July 4th, 1924 letter from black leaders she says critics have ignored.
They either knew nothing about the black leaders that I just mentioned to you, or they simply just didn't respect who they were, what they represented, and what they said.
Fulpa says the proposal would be a reconciliation, but it doesn't mean the group is okay with Castleman staying off this pedestal.
No, we would have the statue back as well, along with those who worked with Castleman.
In a statement, a spokesperson for the mayor's office wrote Louisville Metro government has no plans to place the Castleman statue back in its original location, nor any interest in doing so. Going on to say later this month, they will participate in a community facility review before the Landmarks and Planning Commissions. Meanwhile, Fulpa said it's still waiting on a court decision on whether or not to reinstall the statue.
Let's end the courts and the lawsuits and all of that, and let's do the right thing.
The group says a decision on some of their further court motions is expected in the next couple of weeks. In Louisville, Grace McKenna, WHAS11 on your side.
The Friends of Louisville Public Art Group wants the city to pay for the proposed new memorial.